Welcome into the Speeding in the Pits podcast. I am your co-host, Wyatt Williams, alongside me, your other co-host, Connor Klon Huberty. How are we doing today, sir?
Pretty good, man. Had ourselves an eventful weekend led off by a nice Halloween on Thursday night. Hope you enjoyed yours as we did ours over here.
Yeah, we had a lot of rain.
Oh no.
And then did it rain over there?
Not on Halloween night. It was just kind of cold, but it wasn't
That's
raining or anything.
weird. See, because like you live in Avon, right? Like down by where Austin is.
Central Minnesota. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so I mean that only puts you like 3 hours, 4 hours from us, right? I feel like
It's
I don't
something.
know. Like,
Yeah, it's probably around there.
weather patterns are weird. But yeah, we had some rain. It was kind of a weird day, honestly. It was a weird Halloween, but it was fine. We had some kids come to the house for the first time ever. That was pretty cool. The last couple of years we've had
Yeah, same
no
here.
kids come to the house. And so it's been like it's a bummer. It's like, well, dude, like I bought this candy
Right.
and like to give out to these kids, man. I was so excited for the little Buzz Lightyears to walk up to my door,
Oh
yell
yeah.
trick or treat at me, and I throw a piece of candy at them, but nothing. And then this year,
Right.
finally they do come, and we were unprepared this year because they haven't
Oh
come the
no.
last couple of years, so we
I
didn't
suppose.
expect
Yeah.
it. So now it
Oh,
kind of
man.
caught us out of left field. But you know what? We didn't get egged, so that's a success. And you know what else
All you
was a
can ask for.
success? Yeah, exactly. And what else was a success was this weekend in Martinsville. Ryan Blaney wins the
Sure.
race, and we had no controversy, right?
Yeah,
Nothing.
right. Yeah,
There was nothing. It
nothing at
was
all.
just a
How
regular
nice would it be if
race.
we didn't have any controversy and it
Oh
was just
boy.
the end result? Then
Do
we
you
just
remember
talk
me
about how
ending
great of a race it was.
Yeah. Do you remember me ending the show last week saying I could write the show right now? Like, this happened, something else happened, something else happened. There was chaos, controversy, a million headlines, and all this stuff. And here we are. And that's exactly what happened. We had all kinds
Yep.
of crazy stuff. Before we get into any of the other craziness, I want to start this out by every other racing podcast I listen to, they all started with the obvious today. They started with the whole debacle with the 20 and 24 car. I want to start today by saying thank you to Goodyear for giving us a really solid tire. Like every once in a while, you pick on them for so long, and every once in a while, you got to throw them a bone. When they give you a good product, I have to turn to them and say, "Hey, thanks, guys. You know what? We really appreciate it. It was a solid. How did you feel about the tire? I thought it was a solid product this weekend, honestly.
I think it's everything you could ask for. I mean, Martinsville since the start of the next gen it couldn't have gotten any worse. So no, I
It's
actually
fair.
was pleasantly surprised with it. I thought the racing was entertaining anyway. I mean, I could go on a tangent about the next gen anyways, but no, the tire itself, I think it did what Goodyear expected. It did its job. It did help. So, I mean, hopefully they can keep working on it and it gets even better. But yeah, a great step in the right direction, I would say.
Perfect. Well, we've given our roses to Goodyear. Now it's time to pour gasoline on our
Might be
head.
it.
Fire. We had quite the debacle this weekend
Yeah.
with the 20 car, the 24 car, the 23 car was involved, the 1 car was involved, the 3 car, the 77. I mean, it was crazy. So we'll just start from square one. How do you think NASCAR handled this situation? Should they have done things differently? Are you happy about this penalty? And I don't want to say happy about, but do you think this is the right move NASCAR made? Kind of break us down with the who's, what's, when, where's, and whys of how Klon is feeling about the ending of this
Sure.
race.
And as we talk about this too, everybody watching, listening, obviously, thank you for tuning in. But if you haven't seen any of this, you're just going to have to go back on YouTube or find it somewhere on Twitter. Or just watch some of these clips of the last, probably 20, 15 laps of the race that summarize what we're talking about pretty well. But I honestly, NASCAR wasn't a tough spot, but it's to their own demise. You know, they quote unquote painted themselves into a corner here. This is what the playoffs have been the last few years since they've gone to this 3 races around format. where you split up. Those last 10 races, and this last race, the round 8 in particular, has been like this from the beginning. And so this is just kind of what you get. It is the classic saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. These teams are ultra competitive. The drivers are as competitive as any other athletes you can imagine. And until they get told not to in a rule or something, they're going to do everything they can to make it work. So I think NASCAR probably got it right. I mean, in the moment after the race on Sunday, just taking the easy way out, and they could penalize Christopher for riding on the wall to pass Bubba. I mean, that gives them a decision, something they can live with. But I don't know. I mean, we'll go further too. But I guess to answer the question, I feel like they got out of it cleanly, but it leaves such a bad taste in someone's mouth.
Yeah, I think they made the right call ultimately.
Unfortunately.
He did, in a sense, by the terms of the rule book, he did essentially ride the wall there at the end. However,
and it was pretty obvious. I mean,
it
to be
was.
fair, like
Yeah.
Christopher obviously in a rush, in a panic type to make sure he's keeping his position. But yeah, anyway.
An
Continue.
unneeded move. He could have, if he
Correct.
if Seabell would have just, from the point where he hit the wall, collected himself, drove off of the wall and gassed it straight to the start finish line, this wouldn't even be a conversation right now. We would be going, "Oh my God, look at how Seabell threw it into the corner and beat the 23 car to the start finish line, his own version of the Hail Melon without riding the wall." Like that would be what we're talking about right now. But it was a wall ride there at the end, and per the rule book, yes. Now, morally, this is screwed up. This is totally screwed up for me, morally, because William Byron had a legitimate roadblock behind him. The Chevy drivers, the 1 in the 3 car in the 77 as well, it wasn't as much for the 77, but really the 1 in the 3 car, were literally set up side by side, blocking the rest of traffic, altering the outcome of a race. That's where my problem is. I think if we're going to slap the hand of the 20 car, that's fine. He did ride the wall. He committed a penalty. We got to penalize him for it. If we're following the rule book, I'm all for it. But I think that Chevy and HMS, coming from an HMS and Chevy fan, I think they have to be held accountable here. I think you have to hold Chevy accountable here, and there has to be some punishment for that. You can't just, and of course there's going to be a punishment of, the 1 in the 3 car, or the manufacturer Chevy gets a penalty or something like that. Who cares? There has to be something for me where either we are not letting the 24 in because of that. I mean, they're literally on the radio saying, "Hey," the 3 car was on his radio saying, "Hey, does the 1 car know the deal? Do we know what we're doing here?" And then they proceed to make zero advancements moving forward. Nothing. It states in the NASCAR rulebook, you have to be driving to the best ability of your car that you can, and be trying to compete in every way possible. The 3 and the 1 were not competing, and they were 100% altering the race.
Yeah, their lap times were like almost a half second off the pace because the 24 car was done at that point. And you could see it, like, honestly, as it was happening, you could see it in real time. Like, credit to my wife, she made her championship of this NASCAR league we're in. So she was racing against somebody that had William Byron, or actually she did yesterday. But anyway, so we were watching it live, and you could see like, no, that guy's going to pass him. Whatever. You go back to 5th. That guy's going to pass. Go back to 6th. And then as soon as Austin Dillon got to him, I told her, like, Chevys aren't going to pass each other. Like, I can guarantee you he's not going to pass William Byron. Then all of a sudden Ross, I thought Ross was flying up on the outside to actually just be Ross and just give him the middle finger and say, "I'm going." But then all of a sudden he stopped too. And he could have drove right by him on the outside, which at Martinsville is a telltale sign of, like, that car on the inside line being 24 sucks and is really slow. So the fact that he drove up there that easily, he obviously could have passed him. So
Yeah.
it really does bother me. And like you said, the 100% rule that NASCAR, I don't even know if it's a real rule anymore, or if they ever actually put it in, or if it doesn't exist or whatever. But race manipulation is still a thing, and that is
Yeah.
definitely
No,
race manipulation.
Bob Pocker's here. You keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You keep talking. I'm going to look it up here because Bob Pocker's posted the rule on his Twitter. I'm going to go find it here and read it.
Sure. No, and I think it needs to be said too, like the 23 car, Bubba, we'll see what NASCAR found in that teardown late last night. We're recording here on Monday, but they kept Bubba's car after the race because he claimed something broke in the car with about 5 to go. And his car was, I guess, for lack of a better term, wiggling a lot through the corners those last couple laps and way off the pace. So if it was a toe link or something that broke, maybe we'll find out. I just don't know. And they were talking about it on the radio kind of thing, mentioning where Christopher was at, and he needed to pass one more car too. So are they necessarily innocent in this? No, I don't think so either. So whatever you really do to Chevy, Toyota probably deserves a slap on the wrist too for even just conveying that message. But who knows? Maybe they'll find something in Bubba's car and the whole thing clears up. But it's tough. Like,
and that's where and that's where it's tough, because from what I saw, yes, I do think that, yes, the 23 car may have had damage. It likely did. I don't know. They showed a video today of it sliding and stuff like that. It could have had damage, but there was definitely some gimp in his driving. You could tell that he
100%.
wasn't fully into it. But
he was,
if I'm sitting here and
off, like it was noticeable.
Absolutely. But if I'm if I'm sitting here and I am Toyota and I'm watching Chevy literally roadblock the entire track and nothing's happening, they're getting away with it, why would I not call the 23 team and say, hey guys, we need you to back off a little bit. Chevy's getting away with this right now, and we're going to do the same to get our guy in, because if they are altering the race, then we're going to alter the race, because that's only fair.
100%.
Like that was where my problem was. I found the rule here. This is 5.5 performance obligation, A, B, and C. So A is NASCAR requires its competitors to race at 100% of their ability with the goal of achieving their best possible finishing position in the event. B says any competitors who takes action with the intent to artificially alter the finishing positions of the event or encourages, persuades, or induces others to artificially alter the finishing positions of the event shall be subject to a penalty from NASCAR as specified in Section 10 violations and disciplinary actions. C is artificially alter shall be defined as actions by any competitors that show or suggest that the competitors did not race at 100% of their ability for the purpose of changing finishing positions in the event. Literally, exactly, to a T, what the 1 and the 3 car were doing. That's why my next question for you here, we have seen situations like this in the past. Specifically, the big one that comes to mind, I think, for a lot of people is 2013 Clint Boyer with the spin gate. With that situation, Jeff Gordon was allowed in because he was cut off, because the 15 spins out, his teammates able to get in. So looking back on that situation, NASCAR's already ruled in a situation like this in the past. My question for you is, do we cut our losses here? Do we cut both the 20 and the 24? Because both Chevy and Toyota altered the outcome of this race, 100%. It's clear and obvious. Do we cut both of them out, or do we say, hey, the Chevy was altering it first, it forced the 20 to do the same, the 20 got put in a weird spot, it was already a not full wall ride, it was a send in and then a wall ride. Do we let 5 cars in, or do we just let 3, or do we keep it at 4? My guess at this moment is we keep 4, because it's a Hendrick Motorsports car that made it in.
100%. There is no way that 24 car is not racing for the championship on Sunday.
Yeah.
No chance.
I thought that's what you'd say, and honestly, I agree with you. I don't know. Like I said, I'm an HMS fan. I'm a Chase fan. all here for the success of Team Chevy and Team Hendrick Motorsports, but something about that just doesn't sit right with me. It's just not. It's not the way that racing is meant to be played out. It's not the way that. Honestly, I think the biggest reason why I'm upset is because we had, in my opinion, the best short track product that the next gen has provided for the first 480 laps of this. I would say 490 laps of this race.
Yep.
We had no, because it started before that. So I'll say 480. 480 laps, we had the best short track product that the next gen car has ever provided us. And I was thrilled. I was so excited to hop on this show and be like, Klon, we're making strides. Things are changing. This is what we need. And then the crapshoot started. And I think that's more why I'm upset, because we had this beautiful, perfect race going, and it all just kind of went sideways after that. And I just hate it. I don't see him cutting the 24 out either, but I definitely don't see him putting in the 20, especially after what Seabell tweeted today, saying a picture of him and Joe Gibbs saying just two guys without bow ties. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple things there. Like do I expect anything to change by next weekend? No. Like the four that they announced are in on Sunday night are going to race. That's just how it's going to go. But I would like to live in a world where even if we don't change anything after this weekend, like the rules were the rules, it's fine. Like I don't know what you do midweek. Like I don't know how NASCAR comes back from this without creating new rules. That we need a fundamental change in what the sport is right now to really make me feel better. Like if you slap these guys on the wrist and take away manufacturers' points and pretty much guarantee Ford's going to win the manufacturers championship this year, like that's all fine, whatever. Like doesn't change the fact that it happened and that was what bothers me. Is that's what NASCAR, the sanctioning body right now, thinks is the ideal round of 8 race. That's what they want. They've created the system in 10 plus years of adjusting and fixing this playoff format in their eyes and tweaking little things here and there. This is what they wanted. And it is so fundamentally far away from what racing is. And we've talked about this on previous episodes to no end. But in my opinion, this is just not, this isn't how we should be deciding a champion. Like, as we were getting ready tonight, I was looking at one post from Bob Pockrass, who posted the points lineup after the race last night. William Byron of the championship 4 is the only driver in the top 5 in points that's going to race for a championship on Sunday. The other guys were all like 6 through 8. Like, is this really, like, those guys are really the ones that should be taking the trophy home? You know, Kyle Larson won 6 races this year. Granted, I mean, when he's been cold, but guys having arguably one of the better years for a driver in the last 5, 6, 7 years. He has no chance on Sunday now, mathematically. I mean, he's not in the playoffs. So it just bothers me that this is the system we've created. And it really is a shame that this is what NASCAR thought was the solution. I would rather, like I said, fundamentally, let's just change the whole playoff next year. Let's get rid of this. We've seen now that this doesn't work. It's ridiculous that we're talking about 2 guys that had teammates of theirs either letting them pass them or preventing others from passing them at a ridiculous speed. And I had someone I know, another NASCAR fan who's a huge Hendrick Motorsports, like diehard Chevy guy, texted me this morning saying, like, well, why is this any different than what Ryan Blaney was doing at Vegas for Joey Logano? And if you don't remember, a few weeks ago, that first race of the round of 8, Ryan was 4 or 5 laps down, and with 15 to go, just linked up with Joey's bumper on the straightaways and was pushing him. Now, my argument against that is this is totally different because Ryan was helping Joey go faster, not slower.
Yes.
And preventing people from passing him. Like if somebody else was going to draft with Christopher Bell and pass him, which Ty Gibbs was trying to do, by all means, but go ahead and pass him. It's all about going faster. Where this is, you were literally boxing cars in and building literally a proverbial wall around William Byron to not get past. And it's really a disgrace, in my opinion, in all parties. I'm not just blaming Hendrick or anybody. Anybody would have done it, but it's ridiculous.
And you mentioned anybody would have done it. It's a playoff thing. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
It's
it's the box we've put ourselves in. We're living
and
in.
that's exactly what I texted you after the race. Like I've been for this playoff format. I've been trying to find the good in this and
No.
be for it, but it's just like, man, the farther down the rabbit hole we go, there's not a good outcome from this, because now like the only driver of these four that I think is deserving to be in this situation based on accumulated stats from this season is the regular season champ in Tyler Reddick for me. That's really the only guy that's been consistent of these four all year long. Hasn't really had much of a slump. He's been there. So yeah, it's something's got to be done, but we'll bring all that up later. We're going to talk playoff format changes. Before we do that, we had another NASCAR official screw up. I mean, we're at Charlotte Roval. We've got a car buried in the tires, and we can't see that. Then we've got a tire rolling down the track on the front stretch, and nobody calls caution. We throw the green. The whole pack gets jumbled. Larson ends up taking the lead. Blaney falls 2 spots. And like, I get the frustration with some of the drivers who had, this situation. They got, I don't want to say taken advantage of, but they did in this situation, where it's just, it's a NASCAR thing. Like it's so NASCAR officials to do that. And it's not, the problem is not that the green flag dropped and guys shuffled around. The problem is that the green flag dropped. The problem is not that cars shuffled and everything like that. That's not where my problem is with this. My problem is, where was the caution light when the tire so clearly and obviously came off heading into turn 3? TV caught it. Like, everybody is seeing this, but the guy who's paid to see it hit the yellow button. You have one job, brother. One job. This is not Talladega. This is not Daytona. You're not watching a race from 2.5 miles away on a backstretch and a chunk of metal flies off of a car. This is a very, very short track that is very visible to see from all angles. And there's a tire off. It's not a piece of scrap metal that's 4 inches by 4 inches that's just, fluttering down the track. It's a whole tire. Yep. We've again, I hate saying this because we've said it so many times, but we've got to do better. We've got to do better with these official calls. It is so ridiculous. Ridiculous that these things are happening. How in the world, your one job, if there's something on the track that is supposed to cause a caution, you have to do one thing. You don't have to read all of Moby Dick, run a marathon, come back and hit a button.
Not hard.
You just go, boop. That's all. It's a single finger, boop. That's it. That is all you have to do.
Noise too while you hit the button. Yeah,
they probably do make that noise. I can't stand it, Con. I can't, dude. I cannot believe how horrible the officiating is.
Is it bad? I'm to the point where, like, I just accept the fact that they're going to miss that in real time. We're going to drop the green flag, and I don't have a problem with that. But where I do have a problem is they actually counted the restart as like a restart. Like, I get it. I love a sport that has black and white rules and integrity and everything like that. We've already talked about for 20 minutes in this episode how we don't have that anymore. Why can't we just make up, like, oh, sorry, we dropped the green flag there. Let's re-rack it and start over. Like,
we did an oopsie. We're going to pick up the tire and do one extra lap, and then we'll be ready to go. Like,
we're making up rules as we go anyway. Why not just make that one up? Like, the whole
It's
thing's ridiculous to
ridiculous.
me, man. It's getting bad, and I mean, you try not to be too negative because, like you said, this was a great race, and
It
Ryan
was
Blaney
awesome.
deserves a
It
lot of
really
credit
was.
for him and a few other guys. I think Chase Elliott had one, and we'll talk about him later too. But there's so many
Yeah.
guys that made Sunday really fun. And then I mean, that the tire thing happened earlier, but that happened and the last 20 laps happened. And it just takes all the wind out of my sails. Like, I was having such a good day as a race fan. The old school NASCAR, it felt like at least a little bit was there. And every week,
It
if it wasn't the last 20 laps and the debacle that was, it was his tire coming off. And I mean, thank God Ryan Blaney could get back up front, but losing 2 spots on a restart where you didn't even know if you were
it's
supposed to hit the
huge.
gas or not, that's brutal. So the whole thing to me, man, it's really, really frustrating. Like I said, fundamental shift. The sport is too good for this. It needs to be better. We can't keep having this stuff. It's just not a part of what we need to be.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And to your point there, that is really the most unfortunate part. Is the fact that because of all these things that happened at the end of this race, we're looking past the great product that we had and the incredible drive from Ryan Blaney. Yeah, Chase Elliott had a great drive as well, but Ryan Blaney was driving like his hair was on fire
Mhm.
and I don't even know. It was incredible to see. It was fun to watch, and it really was what you mentioned a minute ago. It was old school NASCAR for
It
just a
was
moment there.
for
It
just a
was
little
just
bit.
we got a glimpse of it, and it was so cool to see. I'm a Chase fan, and I was devastated watching that
Mhm.
12 car just
My
eat
brother
the
too. It's
gap.
funny.
Just
Yep.
eat the gap between. But at the same time, I'm like, man, this is so cool. Like this is what's going to bring people back. This is why
Yeah.
people continue to return to watch, even though we've had the bad tires, even though we've had the struggles with the next gen car, even though we've had the struggles with poor officiating. That stuff right there, those small glimpses are why people return. And it was so cool to see for that small little glimpse that we got of that. But we mentioned him a minute ago, talking about Chase Elliott. He has got to put his foot through the floor a little more
I like
because
it.
man, these last 2 weeks he's been driving aggressively but not obnoxiously. There is a
Right. Right.
difference,
Oh, yeah.
huge
Oh,
difference.
100%. Yeah.
And that's been his style of racing these last 2 weeks and Chase hasn't looked this good in the next gen car. Like
I think he's figured something out. I think we talked about this
he
last week too, but I think he's found something for sure.
he absolutely has and I think he's figured out that like while consistency is great in the regular season, and that's going to get you to the playoffs, especially obviously not especially, but obviously if you can get a win to go along with it as well, like he did at Texas. But in that win at Texas, this was the way he drove. He drove aggressively. He was
Mhm.
making moves that nobody else was, and that put him in a spot to win. Same with these last 2 weeks. The guy goes out and just floors it, and he is essentially started the race, looked great, stayed up front all day. They had some issues. They got sent to the back of the pack. He climbed all the way right back up and was in contention at the end again. Like, that is the Chase Elliott that fans like myself and this sport is dying to see. Like,
Yep.
that is what we need from our most popular driver in this sport.
Oh,
We need to
yeah.
see more of that.
Need to see him more, period.
Yeah, that's true.
I
That's true as
I
well.
I think I I was talking, and you being a Chase fan, maybe follow a little bit more closely, you could attest a little bit more, but I personally think yesterday was Chase's best race in the next gen era. Like, I think in the last, I know he's won other races, and I know he's, had 2022 was a pretty good year for him too. But like, and maybe I'm missing something, and I could be wrong, but I feel like top to bottom, that was just a good old fashioned. He was a factor all day up front, led a bunch of laps. I know Martinsville is one of his best tracks, but like that looked like 2020 Chase Elliott again.
Yeah.
2019 Chase. Like it felt like
It did. I
the
thought that's
Chase
what
that
we were
we were
watching.
just starting to get used to. Exactly.
When he started running down Kyle, I was like, oh my God. Because like I'm watching the race hours after it's happened, and you had texted me and said, hey, it's pretty crazy. And so I'm thinking in my head, like, oh wow, okay, like something wild happens,
Yeah.
Okay, is Chase gonna run him down right now? Is that what's happening? And I had another friend, the guy I talked about last week, Ben, who listens to the show. Shout out, Ben. But Ben had texted me and was like, this was nuts. Are you work right now? And I was like, yes, I am. So I haven't seen any of it. And he was like, well, this was crazy. So now I'm really like thinking like, okay, like, all right, he's running the 5. He's running the 5 down right now. Okay, is this happening? Is this happening right now? And he gets to the bumper of the 5 and he passes him, and I'm like, no way. No way. And then RB scoots right by the 5 and right by the 9, and that was pretty much the end of it. When I saw him blow the 9's doors off, I was like,
yeah. I thought that was going to go back and forth for a couple laps there. It was literally, I think they went through 3-4 one time, and it was over.
Yeah. No, me too. I really thought that was going to be some side-by-side. Like, this is going to be great. We've got 2 young stars. They're going to go neck and neck here for a spot in the championship 4. And the 12 car legitimately blew the 9's doors off and just left him.
Just killed him.
I mean, in a mere, 5 laps, he had made the gap 2 seconds. It was like, okay, this is not even, he didn't even win this race. Excuse me.
At least we can say
down.
Yeah, we can say best driver of the day yesterday did win the race. So that's always like a box I like to check, and that's not necessarily an always thing. But yeah, it was good to see out of Chase. Like he needs to become relevant again. I hate to say it. Like I know he was technically the points leader if you're using the old Winston Cup format from 20 years ago, and he's actually had a decent year that way. But like he needs to win races, and a few of them. I just think, there was that big talk this week, and this is kind of a sidebar, but him saying he doesn't want to be involved with the Netflix show and doesn't, want to do stuff like that where, he has cameras following him around outside the track and stuff like that. And I would just remember Dale Earnhardt Jr. years ago, and I hope somebody finds this and pulls it up, but talked about how when he first came into the Cup and like how popular he was. I mean, and obviously still is, but he was so uncomfortable like on TV and in front of people and exposing, his private life to the world in a way. But like he was on Cribs, he was on Saturday Night Live, or like shows like that. Like
he was on Cribs.
But
that
he
was
never
so
said
funny.
But he obviously, somebody was helping him promote himself, and not only himself, but the sport. Like, I'm sorry, Chase, but you do have to do some things that you probably don't like to do. I know it's not his fault. He didn't ask to be the most popular driver, but like you should feel some obligation, I feel like, to do that because you're growing the sport. You're bettering your own career, your own business, like your future, and generations of drivers after you will benefit from you doing that.
Yep.
So he hopefully with just doing it on the racetrack, maybe that'll help too if he can get back to old form. But I would like to see him do other stuff too, because I do like Chase Elliott. I think he's a cool dude, but you just never hear from him other than the 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon. That's all you get.
Yeah, you've got a great point there. It's one of those things where he may have not wanted to be in the limelight like this, but not only is he NASCAR's most popular driver too, he wins that every year by a landslide. Like it's not even like he's NASCAR's most popular driver. He is NASCAR's face right now. Like he is the face of the sport, 110% the face of the sport. Like there's a certain level of publicity to grow the sport that goes with that.
Mm-hmm.
And while he's not the most out there guy, and I get that, and I appreciate that. That's cool, honestly, for me too. Like I think that's cool that he does keep a side of him reserved. But we
It's
can't
fine.
fully lock up your personality. You've
Yeah,
got
you
to
can't just
open up a little
disappear
bit.
6 days a
Right.
week though. Yeah.
Right. Like if you don't want to do a podcast like Denny does and you don't want to completely throw yourself out there, that's fine. Like I'm so cool. I'm not asking for a Chase Elliott podcast. Sure, would it be funny and awesome and I would listen to it? Absolutely. But I'm not sitting here asking for that. We're asking
Almost
for
asked for it.
the bare minimum. We're asking for the bare minimum. Just for 3 months out of the year, can you have a camera crew follow you around for just a little bit of time so we can grow this sport? They're not going to go to bed with you and sleep with you. They're not going
No.
to set up private. Well, you never know,
Who
actually.
knows?
But, they're not going to set up, hidden cameras in your house and all this stuff. Like, they're going to let you know, hey, we're coming over to film. And
Right.
that's going to be the time where you film. So, like, that's
And
all we're asking for. You're giving us
right.
0, and we're asking for like
20.
50%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
20%,
25 even.
50%.
Like, just
Anything.
anything more than what we're getting right now.
I
Because
just yeah.
Chase occasionally shows his personality, and he does have a good personality. He's got to show it
Yeah.
more. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
My
no,
rant's
I was
over.
just gonna say, no, you're good. I was gonna piggyback off what you said there with a little bit of that obligation. Like, I remember vividly last year in the post race press conferences. That was easy to say when Ryan Blaney did win the championship last year, and he got asked, I swear to God, 10 times in a row about like, now that you're a champion, what kind of advocate are you going to be as a defending champion? What kind of face are you going to be for the sport? And like Ryan took that in stride, said, yeah, there is like a responsibility and an obligation to do that as a champion. Well, as the most
Absolutely.
popular driver, there is too. Like I don't.
I'd say even
I'm
more
sorry.
of an obligation.
I just don't. I don't see how you can just pass that off and not see it as a problem. Like I know Kevin Harvick had those comments years ago about how Dale Jr. stunted the growth of the sport because he didn't win enough. And I honestly don't even know if winning 5 races a year is what does it. I do think winning a little bit to stay relevant, but I think Dale did more than enough to do that.
Absolutely.
I think Dale was as popular as you can be. You can talk to anybody darn near any sort of sports fan doesn't watch a lick of NASCAR. They can probably still tell you who Dale Earnhardt Jr. is.
I would go
They
as far
can't
to
tell you
say
who
that.
they can't tell you who Chase Elliott is.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I would go as far to say that if you asked 100 random people at your local grocery store who they know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Chase Elliott,
Oh
I don't think
God,
it's close. It's a
it's 100
landslide,
to
Dale Earnhardt
nothing.
Jr.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a landslide. So yeah, but there 100% is that obligation. We need just a little bit more out of the personality.
yeah.
He's got to
It
put it
doesn't even
out
have to be the
there.
Netflix show. It doesn't even have to. If that's really what he's hung up on, or if I mean, like you said, there's podcasts. There's so many other things you can do. Make guest appearances on other shows, whatever the opportunity is. If it really is that he doesn't want to do Netflix or whatever that show is, fine. Do something else though. Like start your own YouTube channel. Like I remember years ago, he was streaming Call of Duty or something. I don't care if that's what it is. Go do it. Like
That would be so funny.
you have a following. Go
Hey,
use it.
Black Ops 6 just came out.
Get them back out there. If I
You
swear to
play
God,
it.
that's what it is. Somebody can go back and look, but I'm 99% sure he did that like during COVID or something. But it's still
Yeah.
like point remains. Do it.
Yep. No, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Moving from one big personality in NASCAR to another, this is something that I texted you on Sunday after I had watched the race. We kind of text back and forth some notes once I've watched the race. Appreciate you for never spoiling anything for me. I can't say that. I have had a lot of stuff spoiled for me this year. You have never once spoiled anything for me, and I
And
appreciate that.
I get so worked up. You should have seen me Sunday night. Like
Dude,
my wife
I wish I
probably
could.
was trying to hide because it was like she was just so annoyed with how much I was talking about it. But like, yeah, I try everything in my power not to spoil it for you, but it takes a
I
lot
appreciate
sometimes.
it. You do a great job. But one of the things I had texted you about was something that I have been very passionate about for a long time and have held out for a very long time. for years and seasons and years and seasons, I have said, this is the year. It's going to happen. Denny Hamlin is going to win a NASCAR Cup Series championship. I'm here to say that I'm stepping off my high horse.
Oh,
I have
no.
come to terms with the fact that it's never going to happen.
Never.
Like,
I thought you were going to say like it might take a while, but
no, I'm at a point where now in his career, I don't want to say it's only down from here, but it doesn't get better. Like, he's not entering his prime. He's not still in his prime. He's exiting his prime. Like, this is not 2010 Denny Hamlin anymore. This is not 3 seasons ago Denny Hamlin
wild
anymore.
To say, by the way, that we're talking about Denny like this.
He said that's why it's so crazy, because the career longevity. This guy has been a pure competitor and in the mix for the last 15 years. And every year it's so close, but yet so far. And this was year 20 of that. And I'm done. I'm done getting my hopes up. I placed, this was the first year I ever placed bets on it, because I was like, this is it. He's going to do it. This is the year that he's going to do it. I went and placed a hefty bet on Denny Hamlin. Irresponsibly. Only bet what you can lose. That's what I'll say to our audience.
That's right.
But responsibly, and only with money that I could lose, I placed a bet on Denny Hamlin to win the championship this year, as well as Chase Elliott. Both blew up in my face. I'm done betting on NASCAR. We'll leave it at that. But I'm hopping off my high horse. I'm at a point where now I've lost all hope. I don't think Denny wins a championship. What do you think?
I don't know. It's hard because, like, I'm with you. It doesn't last forever with race car drivers, and over the years, we've seen it with so many of our favorites the last couple of decades, and nobody's ever really been able to see like what the real reason is. Why does an old driver slow down? But
it is weird because it's not like where an athlete you can see it. They don't run as fast. They don't. The juke moves just don't hit as hard anymore. The joints don't hold up like they used to. But with a race car driver, you would think until they got into their, like 60s,
late 50s or something, I would say.
Yeah, you would think like you're likely going to have a similar grip of strength. But I think the thing that I saw, it has to do with your reaction time.
I think it is. It's got to be reflex and reaction time and coordination.
I think that's
probably.
What it is.
Yeah. So
I think that's what it is. But
yeah, to answer the question, I guess I'd love to say that he's got one more shot in him, because we all kind of circled this year as he's got one more. I'd love to say I think 2025 could be that very, very last chance. And because I don't know, like mid-40s, it's impossible to say like exactly what year. Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be next year? What is it really? When's that cliff really going to sneak up on us? But
yeah. How old was Tony in 2011?
I was just trying to think about that. I'll do some digging here, because I do think there's still, like, Mark Martin won a race in his 50s. Like,
yeah,
I think a few races, but
yeah,
I don't know.
But winning a championship in this format is what I'm saying. Like if we had our old format, even the Chase, like not even Winston Cup, if we were just talking the Chase format.
Tony was 40 in 2011.
So he was younger than Denny is right now.
Yeah, which is crazy to say.
That just oh man, these guys are getting old. We're getting old.
I know.
What's going on? I don't like this.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe
I did not expect you to say that. I thought for sure he was going to be like 45 or something. You know what I mean? Like,
I know I would have said older.
I'd have said 45, like minimum. If you'd have come back to me and said 48, I'd have been like, okay, kind of checks.
I guess in 2011. No, I'd probably guessed about that, because he raced till 2016, so he was 45 when he retired.
See, yeah, I'm just at a point where
he wasn't super competitive at that point, but there were other things going on. But
right, but I'm just at a I'm just at a point where if it was going to happen, it would have already happened, I think. And
Yeah.
I hate to say it. I do, as a Chase Elliott fan, it's so crazy to say. I like Denny Hamlin. I really do. I pull for the guy. I listen to his podcast every week. Like I'm an avid, if Chase is not going to win the race and Ryan Blaney's not going to win the race, I'm cheering for the 11. I really am. That's my MO, but I just hate it. It's I like I said, I'm out of hope at this point.
Yeah, I guess for the sake of the take, yeah, I'd probably say it's not going to win it either. But my only thing I keep going back to is this playoff format is such a Mickey Mouse one that he could sneak in as a 16 seed, win a race every round, get hot all of a sudden in a Tony Stewart like run. It wouldn't even have to be that. I guess it'd be a lot lesser of a feat, but he could do something like that and win it. It is possible. And you could be a lesser driver, I would say, and do it, but it does get a lot harder, obviously, to do that. But I don't know. I have a hard time with the system. So I guess in genuine terms, no, Denny can't win one. But
I hate that, and I'm sure next year about. I mean, if we get to June or May and he's already got a win or two, I'm sure I'll hop right back on this high horse and be like, "Here we go, Team 11 for the win!"
And there's no reason
gonna be
to
that
not
guy.
think that either, though. Like he's gonna show you a lot of things that he is still a top tier driver in the sport.
Yeah,
like,
next year he's gonna have to prove it. He's gonna have to prove it.
Okay.
He's gonna have to prove it to me next year.
See, I think he's going to be super competitive yet. The win of the championship thing, I almost don't even care, but he's still going to be really good.
As long as he's competitive, he's got a shot. Listen to me, already changing my take up right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
We are running out of time for this show. We spent a lot of time on Martinsville. There was a lot to unpack there. So we'll move on here now to, you ready for this? I'm going to try this. The preliminary junction hearing between 2311 Front Row and NASCAR happened earlier this week, because this will be airing on Wednesday. That's the other thing, too, I wanted to mention about this show. We're recording this on Monday night. We usually record on Tuesday nights, but because I am a news reporter, my life will be taken away from me tomorrow for Election Day, and I will be fully a go for Election Day. So we will not be able to record tomorrow night. So I'm sure by the time we release this on Wednesday, a lot's going to change. Like there might be like a ruling on the whole 1 and 3 situation, or Team Chevy. Like I'm sure that'll come out. That'll come out tomorrow. Like the second
I think they said Wednesday morning. Actually, it might come out. So
great. Right as the show releases. That's awesome. Okay, so there you go. There's your little disclaimer for this. We are recording this on Monday, but Monday, there was a preliminary junction hearing for 2311 Front Row and NASCAR. They had everybody meet, lawyers and all involved, and essentially not much more came of it, but a little more did. Basically, they're trying to figure out these charter systems. The attorney for 2311 is saying that the SHR charters deals will go through. NASCAR has not said anything about that yet. That's why I'm skeptical to fully commit to that statement. But NASCAR has not said anything about it yet. But the attorneys for 2311 feel very confident that they're going to be able to get this through. So I'm just wondering, like, is this like, will we even see an end to this in the offseason, or is this going to bleed right over into 2025?
I mean, depending, I guess from what we heard today, Friday might be the big decision on whether they go forward with the case or not altogether. So I think by the time we get to Friday, we might know what we're looking at. But if this does go through, I heard best case scenario, we're talking a year from now still about this, and maybe don't even have a decision. And it might be a lot longer than that, maybe a couple of years. So I don't know what end we're going to find, or you and I might be pretty old by the time this thing sounds like it's going to get settled. So
Yeah, no
it might be a
kidding.
bit.
Yeah, MJ said today that he feels really confident that the race team is going to be able to put this aside, go out and win a championship on Sunday. How big of a distraction do you think this is? Because granted, I'm sure, yes, that 2311 is going to go out there and put their best foot forward and they're going to race and everything like that. But I feel like I saw you shake your head no. So I don't know. Maybe you do have a different opinion than me. I feel like there has to be some kind of not a huge distraction, but there has to be somewhat of a distraction. Your team is literally suing your league. It would be like if the, Jordan Love was taking the field for the Packers. Meanwhile, the Packers are suing the NFL. Like, there's got to be some kind of a distraction in that. I don't see it being a huge distraction because they went and won last week at Homestead. They've been able to get a
Right.
car into the championship. If it was a huge distraction, there wouldn't be a 2311 car in the championship right now with how crazy this has all been. But do you think this is a distraction? Sorry, my long drawn out question is over. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I all good points. I just think it's a distraction starting today, Monday until Friday. And then as soon as you get to the track, you're by your own team, you're by your own car, your own stuff. Like, it has very little to do. You're not interacting with a lot of like NASCAR people. Sure, you're going to get asked about it in, press conferences and stuff like that this week if you're like Tyler Reddick, but I think business as usual once you get to the track. It's not like they're hanging posters over your car. A NASCAR official's following you around the track all the time to make sure you're not doing anything wrong, kind of thing. Like, I don't think much has changed that way. So I do think it's in the back of your mind, maybe. And I think I'd almost argue it's going to be a bigger distraction if he wins on Sunday for the next 6 months. Like, he's going to hear about it forever.
Man,
if you're the driver that won while you were suing the sport, but right now,
the
I don't think
France
so.
family has to hand the 2311 crew a championship trophy
I want to see it so
they're
bad.
suing them. Please.
As a Ryan Blaney, I'm not like a diehard
happen.
fan to anybody, but as somebody that does typically pull for the 12 car, like, I still want the 45 to win it. Just give me the chaos. But
oh yeah, that would be crazy.
It'd be amazing.
Okay, so real quick before we get to our picks, one last headline I wanted to go over. It's been all over Twitter. We've talked about it previous in the show because it's such a big thing. We've talked about it in previous episodes as well. What do we do with this playoff format? Something's got to change. I haven't been on board up to this point, but I'm finally here. I'm here for it. I agree.
I honestly think the biggest problem is Jim. You can maybe chalk it to Jimmy Johnson and his run of dominance there in the late 2000s, early 2010s, but NASCAR really made an attempt to create parity, meaning you didn't have just one or two drivers win every race, every championship, that whole sort of thing. So they created this playoff system and continued to create new elements to it to make it, I don't want to say more fair, but give more opportunity for different drivers to make an impact. And we finally got this system in whatever we talked about last week, 2018 or whatever it is, or 16 or whatever, where it's that one race winner take all. But they need to get away from the parity, because I think not only does the playoff system create so much of it now, the next gen car does as a whole already. So you don't need a system now to help you, because you kind of got what you wanted and the cars are really fair for everyone. So I'm fine with us having like a playoffs. I know you can slap a different word on it, call it the chase again. It doesn't matter to me, whatever it is. I'm fine with us going, there's a 26 race regular season. Fine. Let's go down to 10. Here's your 12 or 16 guys that have a chance. But you got to get rid of the rounds to advance and eliminate guys. And you got to get
miniature
rid of
seasons.
Yeah. And you got to get rid of the wins as automatic qualifiers. You get rid of those two things, you'll probably have a decent system. And I hate to say it because I don't remember the details to a point, like the point amount and the scoring. The 2011 chase where Tony did rattle off 5 wins, granted, he was like the 12th and last car to make it, so he came from a huge hole. That system can create drama. It can give you a championship battle to the end. Just go to that. It'll happen much more organically. It'll be way better than what we have right now.
Okay. I've come up with a solution. I thought about it long and hard today,
This is gonna be
and I've
good.
got it. I've got it. It's going to be great.
Mario Kart
So
at Phoenix on the Jumbotron for all the marbles. We're not even racing the cars.
that's all, folks, for the Speeding in the Pits
That's
podcast
the only
today.
other idea I had. That's the only other one I had.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That actually would be awesome. Like, I was messing with you a second
Yeah.
ago. That would be so sick.
It'd be
That would
so
be,
sweet. Yeah.
I
I'd be thrilled.
I'm not going to sit here and say that's a bad idea. It's not. But the idea I came up with, we're going to satisfy everybody on this one because NASCAR wants the parity. They want the Game 7 moments. They want this win means the most system, right? And the fans want the best drivers in. So, to compromise
Already fired up.
and meet in the middle, what we do, we race the regular season like the Winston Cup standings.
Sure.
At the end of the regular season, the 16 best points drivers advance to the chase.
Wins
And
aren't automatic qualifiers.
No.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
No. Top 16 points, you get in. But in turn, so like for a situation where like Chase got hurt last year, the 9 car accumulates the points. So when Josh Berry filled in for him, Chase could have still made the playoffs. Same with like Kyle Busch a couple of years ago. Whoever was filling in for the 18 car, they could have driven the car. The car would have still got points. Kyle can jump back in and get the car to where it needs to be to make the playoffs. But anyways, Winston Cup style points. And we will, the top 16 in points advance to the chase. From that point, we have a similar style of the Winston Cup points, but the regular season champ gets an automatic bid into the final 4 or final 5. This will come back later. Bear with me.
Okay.
The regular season champ gets an automatic bid into the final 5. It is a Winston Cup style chase all the way through 6 races. No, that would have been 9 races. Sorry. 9 races of the 10 championship races. At the end of that, the top 4 in points that are not the regular season champ go to Phoenix. And whoever finishes best of those 5 drivers wins the championship. We satisfy everybody. We get
like the one race, throw it all out on the line.
Well, I'm saying we got to satisfy everybody here. We gotta find a system because NASCAR wants this parity. They want the Game 7 moment. They want the win means everything, right? We give them that with the championship race being the best finishing car of the 5 wins it. We also satisfy all of the older school fans with the Winston Cup style points and with that chase. And NASCAR gets their home run moment at the end. And that home run moment, though, is the best 5 drivers points-wise. So essentially, it really is a very similar system to the Winston Cup style points, but you got to bring your A game on the championship Sunday.
What would your thoughts be? And I don't mind. I don't necessarily hate it. I could just see we're going to have a lot of people talking about that 5th car that's lowest in points that sneaks into the championship, wins it, and then you got your dominant guy for the regular season and your dominant guy from the playoffs that didn't win it. Because then I'm not trying to say it's a terrible idea, just playing devil's advocate because mine has holes in it too. But I don't mind it. But what are your thoughts on taking exactly what you have, but you take 2 races out of the regular season, put it in the playoffs, so you'd have 12 playoff races.
Okay.
And make your championship round 3 races.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that.
5, but it's 3 races. You could still have it come down to the last race, last lap, but you have at least a body of work to build off of from your 2 previous weeks.
That's fine. I'd be cool with that.
Because
I think that's
it's
just
not, and it's still not like the third race is winner take all. Your points would carry all 3 races, so you can't, in theory, just suck at the first 2 races and go win the third one.
yeah. No, I'd be cool with that. That sounds like a good system. I
Be
like that.
better
Look
with
at
that than
us.
we have now. I mean, those are both, and we could pick either of those 2 for next year, and I love it so much more than what we have right now. You got to get rid of the rounds. You got to get rid of the rounds. I don't care how you do it. You have to.
Yeah, you're chopping up the playoffs way too much, and it essentially makes a regular season,
The,
a round
there's
of
just
16 season, a round of 12 season, a
yeah,
round of 8 season. So
and
it's like
there's
you're just
too
breaking it
many
up too much.
consequences. There's just too many consequences for the system. Like, yeah, oh, it's a cute, fun game 7 moment that somebody won the Roval in the round of 12, but then all of a sudden you let the 16th best playoff driver make the round of 8, and all of a sudden they lucked into winning another race and they're racing for the championship. And you got, in theory, your 10th to, I don't know where they put you in points with 3 wins, like 10th best playoff driver racing for your championship. You got to get rid of it. I don't care what else it is.
Yeah. No, I see where you're coming from there.
And the cutoffs would totally, you just have to move Martinsville, I guess, to get rid of what we saw on Sunday. But like some of the stuff is just never going to go away at that point if you have any sort of cutoff race. But I don't know. I'm sick of watching that too.
Oh,
If
it's
you
made
can't
for some
tell.
pretty interesting stuff, but we've got an interesting one coming up on this Sunday. This is it, Klon. This is our the
Shed
last
tears.
race of the season. And then we got to wait till February to get another race on television. And then we'll re-rack and do the whole thing over again. And it's a wonderful, beautiful, incredible process that I love so much.
God's favorite event.
It's incredible. Daytona 500 is unlike anything
That's
else.
right.
But anyways, that's in February. We're talking Phoenix in November right now. Who wins the NASCAR Cup Series championship?
Well, a couple things I predicted did come true here from our first couple episodes. I'd like to call back too quick as I'm
You
taking a little
go
bit of
for
a
it.
victory
Go
lap.
for it, because you did.
Two things I said. Number one, Tyler Reddick was going to win the championship. So I have to stay with it. Got to pick him again. See if I can call my own shot. The second thing, I did say Team Penske somehow knows how to work the playoffs. Nobody was sitting here. I mean, a couple people talking about Ryan. Nobody was talking about Joey. All of a sudden, 2 of
Nobody's
the
talking
4
about
cars are
Joey.
Penske. They just figured it out. I know Joey got in because of weight, but they still clutched up in the round 8 like always. Like it just is going to happen till the end of time. They know what they're doing. They sandbag all year. I don't know what it is. They're going to figure it out. It's even money bet probably to take Penske at any point. So I wouldn't be shocked if either of those 2 guys win it either. But Tyler Reddick on Sunday, just to cap it off for me.
Does he win it? Does he win the race, or does he just win the championship?
I think I think the winner's going to win again. Ryan not winning it last year, such an oddity. It feels like that only a ultra aggressive driver like Ross would do. So
Like Ross would, yeah.
it would just have to be a perfect storm. And Ross's car probably isn't good enough at Phoenix right now. So I say Tyler wins the whole race and championship.
That's fair. I would love to see it. I would love to see it for the chaos and everything that would come with the France family having to hand that trophy to 2311. That would be so cool. I'm all here for it. My championship pick, I've been telling you that I'm leaning more toward Penske. They get it done. They've won the championship the last 2 years. I'll say this. Penske three-peats this year, and I've gone back and forth so much today.
There's
Who am
one
I going
right
to pick?
answer.
The 12 or the 22? The 12 or the 22? And there is one right answer. But the problem is that right answer used all of his luck on Sunday.
Oh, no.
The 22 car has had the 22 car has had 3 weeks to prepare for this. And Paul Wolf is a smart guy. Joey Logano, that's a smart cat.
I know. The world will burn, by the way. You think the playoff talk was bad.
You know that's what's going to happen. It's
The
the
world
only
is
thing that
going to
would
burn
put,
down if Joey Logano wins this championship.
with the way this season's gone, with all the craziness, the wild headlines, teams suing NASCAR, Austin Dillon walling people to win a race. We got Harrison Burton coming from 36th and making the playoffs. We've
Corey
seen
LaJoy
it all.
flying cars.
Corey LaJoy not knowing how to drive anything, let alone a race car. We have seen it all this year. What would be more of a cherry on top to the chaos and to really just everybody be so angry with this season than the 22 car to win a championship again? Like what is more fitting for this season than that?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I mean I can see it.
It's just the cherry on top. So I'm going 22. We've had so much craziness. We've had so many mad fans on Twitter with the system and everything like that. It's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only thing to me that says, yep, that's what's going to happen with the way that this year is gone. That's what's happening. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going with the 22 car winning the Cup Series championship on Sunday. Can't believe I'm saying that, but I am, and I'll stick to it. But
what was he 12th in points right now if you did season totals?
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
Sweet.
And it's gonna make everybody mad.
It's got me so fired up, man. Joey Logano's gonna be a 3-time champion. Denny doesn't have one. Harvick's a 1-time champion. What are we talking about here?
Joey Logano will have more championships than Kyle Busch now. He'll have 2 more than Kevin Harvick and 3 more than Denny Hamlin, who has 0.
Not as many as Tony. That pissed that there. Now I'm pissed.
It's as many as Tony.
All right,
yes.
I'm done. Yep, yes. We can shut it off.
Great episode. Perfect. Thank you for listening to the Speeding in the Pits podcast. Klon is done. We'll join you next week. We'll wrap up the season and tell you about how the 22 got the win. Calling it now. Klon is going to be fuming.
I don't think I'm going to record next week.
Oh, boy. This could be a Wyatt-only show for you guys next week because Klon will be fuming when the 22 car ties Smoke in championships.
Awesome.
That's great. Klon, you got anything you want to say before we head out, buddy?
Change the system. System sucks.
Can I get a I love the next gen car?
No. Because we don't.
Oh my god. Okay.
Thing still drives like crap on short tracks, man. It's
God, dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe on everything. Klon needs all the help he can get right now. It's bad. He's struggling over here.
Not good. Not good.
Oh man. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the Speeding in the Pits podcast. We'll see you next time.